Welcome everyone to tonight's Acts 2 workshop, Faith Community Leaders in Dementia Care, Vision Now, and in the Future. I'm Dr. Rob Glukov, servant leader of the Acts 2 project and professor, Florida State University College of Medicine. In case you are unfamiliar with the term Acts 2, it stands for African American Alzheimer's Caregiver Training and Support Project 2. Folks, I am very excited about this timely and important workshop. You will have an opportunity to learn about the personal experiences of religious leaders caring for loved ones with dementia and the ministries they created to make their faith communities dementia welcoming. Audience participants are strongly encouraged to ask questions and provide input during the course of this workshop. Before I introduce this evening's presenters, I want to recognize our partners who've contributed both resources and guidance in the development of the Acts 2 Caregiver Workshop series. Acts 2's primary collaborators are the Florida State Primitive Baptist Convention, African Methodist Episcopal Church 11th Episcopal District, the Florida General Baptist Convention, the Florida Progressive Missionary and Educational Baptist Convention, and the FSU College of Medicine's REACH Project. Turning now to tonight's presenters, we have four inspiring speakers: Dr. Elder James Chester, Pastor Tracey Mills, Minister Leonard Hixson, and Mrs. Tamika Norton Brown. I have the distinct privilege of serving as moderator for this evening's workshop. Please permit me, folks, to share just a few words about each of our featured speakers. Our first presenter, Pastor James Chester, is Senior Pastor, Orthodox Zion Primitive Baptist Church, West Palm Beach, Florida, and professor at South Florida Bible College. He obtained his Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration from Barry University and later earned his Doctor of Ministry degree at Knox Theological Seminary. Elder Chester is very active in his denomination. His current service activities include President, Florida State Primitive Baptist Church School Convention, and Vice President of the National Church School Convention. Dr. Chester has a strong vision for dementia care. He believes God has called the church to serve the community holistically. Through partnerships with professional providers, his church community center provides spiritually and culturally responsive adult day care to persons with dementia and their family caregivers. In Dr. Chester's limited spare time, he enjoys riding bikes and watching old movies with his family and friends. Our second presenter, Tracey Mills, is pastor, Collins Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal Church in Baldwin, Florida, and outreach program coordinator, community hospice and palliative care, headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida. She obtained her Bachelor of Arts in Administrative Management at Tennessee Wesleyan University and later two master's degrees, one in Human Services and a second Master of Divinity from Liberty University. Her community involvement is extensive. She currently serves on the Founders Council at Community Hospital and Palliative Care, the Alzheimer's Association Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Council of Influential Leaders, and the NAACP Health Initiative. Pastor Mills' hobbies include singing, writing lyrics, and poetry. Our third presenter, Reverend Leonard Hixson, is Minister of Evangelism at Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church in Pensacola, Florida. He previously pastored at the Word of Faith Church in Pensacola. Reverend Hixson has a long history, folks, of service in working with persons who have substance abuse difficulties and with older adults living in nursing home facilities. The Lord has used his extensive experience in nursing homes to prepare him to serve as caregiver for his dear mom with dementia. From 2018 to 2020, Reverend Hixson served as primary caregiver for his dear mother 6 months each year. A major challenge he faced was being partially sighted due to glaucoma. Reverend Hixson used his God given ingenuity and talents to overcome difficulties in cooking and cleaning, as well as caring for his mom. In his spare time, Reverend Hixson enjoys spending quality time with his family and immersing himself in the Word of God. Last, we have Mrs. Tamika Norton Brown, Acts 2 project coordinator. She's worked in the area of survey development and evaluation for the past 21 years. Tamika has been a source of great encouragement for hundreds of families, literally hundreds of family caregivers of older adults with dementia across Florida. She previously served as her caregiver herself for her dear aunt and uncle with dementia. Tamika Norton Brown is also a strong leader by example in her church community. Folks, during the course of this workshop, I encourage you to share questions to be answered after each presentation using the text message function of Facebook Live. We will also have a 10 to 15-minute question and answer period following the last presentation. And now we turn to our first presenter, Pastor James Chester.
Thank you, Dr. Glucroft, for having me on this virtual workshop for Acts 2 Caregivers. It is a pleasure always working with you. I want to thank you for our friendship and our working together over the several years through the state convention, and personally how you've helped us with some things that we were working on there at the church. So I want to thank you for that. I just want to first start by somewhat giving a little backstory of my journey with Alzheimer's. And it was very impressive to hear the other ministers, especially Tamika, and how they have personally been involved with caregiving. But my story is a little bit different, but not too much different. We began to notice the difference in my mom's behavior and how her personality had changed after a very serious auto accident. We knew something was wrong, but we just didn't know what was wrong. And she all of a sudden started missing things, misplacing things, and people were taking things from her, especially her money. And so she began to ask the same question over and over, and in a short amount of time, not knowing that she had asked the question. And it was getting somewhat frustrating for the rest of the family. And I guess I have a little more patience, but I was wondering what was going on. So in 2010, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And at that time, my family reached out to an organization called Alzheimer's Community Care in the city of Fort Pierce, Florida. We had found out about daycare and was trying to keep her active, but unfortunately, she was past the daycare stage. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the end. So we tried to take care of her at home. I live approximately 55 miles away from my mom, so it was pretty tough. I have two brothers who live in town, but no sisters. And so we continued to try to give her care of my father, but it got to be too much for him. And it led us to putting her in a facility where they were qualified to take care of Alzheimer's patients. And during that time, I began to study about Alzheimer's disease and learn the benefit, especially of daycare service for both the patient and the caregiver. I also learned that it was a high rate of Alzheimer's disease among African Americans. It's the highest amount. But there was no centers in the neighborhood offering daycare, especially for people with dementia. And so through that, God gave Orthodox the vision that they were to begin to be involved with the Alzheimer's daycare. So in 2011, we tried ourselves, congregants, and tried to start one, but we were unable to get it started. So in 2012, we reached out to Alzheimer's Care Community, which I found out the headquarters was here in West Palm Beach and not far from where our church is located. So we reached out to them, but however, they were not doing any more at that time. I think they had one that they needed for a Spanish-speaking population. And so the years went by, and I knew I had to do something with the building. So on the very day in 2015, I decided I would do something different, start a different type of ministry. Really hadn't started Alzheimer's because it just wasn't happening. But that very day, the phone rang, and it was the president and the chief executive officers, Miss Mary Bonds from Alzheimer's Community Care. She was reaching out to see whether we're still interested in partnering in the Alzheimer's Day Care. We still had the vision to establish it, and certainly we believe this timing of wanting to quit and the phone call coming in at the same time was an act of God and not a coincidence. So the partnership started in 2015, and we made the agreement. We completely remodeled the building. When I say completely, in 2016, it was completed in 2017. So that's kind of the backstory to where we got. Now where we're at present, the John B. McCracken Specialized Alzheimer's Care and Service Center opened up November 13, 2017. It's licensed with the state of Florida with Special Alzheimer's Day Care Act 2012, and it provides care for the patients as well as the families. They have licensed nurses who are trained and staff who are specialists in dementia. They give all ongoing training and all of these cognitive disorder. Have a staff ratio about 1 to 5. They give ongoing training. The capacity of the center is 45, and it's normally about 35. And the capacity is around 28, and now with COVID, it's around 23. They have 12 different centers between West Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie County. And so they do workshops and different things for people who need to do it. Where our present vision, there's a lot of benefits of the development of the organization. They have trained staff. And so one of the benefits of going to a daycare, especially dementia, is that it cuts down the time in which a person would end up in a nursing facility. It is somewhat around 3 years if they don't go, and about 6 months if they go. So the rest of the time they're spending in a nursing facility. Another advantage, you have set hours. Most of the people in our community have to work, so they have to have some place to put their loved ones. And so we've been very helpful in that. And all of our patients are right here locally in the neighborhood. And as far as our vision, we're excited about our future vision. Things are looking up. And so we see the patients as an unreached people group, especially for the gospel and being ministered to it. Theologically, they are still God's people. God is concerned about it, and I believe they are worthy of the best ministry that we can possibly give. One of the things we were beginning to work on before COVID, and we'll be heading back that way, is an Alzheimer's worship service. If the person has worked all week, then they have to take care of their loved one on the weekend. Where do they attend church? So because we're on the same campus, we have been looking into, and there's an organization called Calvin Institute of Christian Worship. We have developed things to provide worship with them. And so it brings the Bible to the Alzheimer's patients. We also must have licensed nurses. We're looking to increase our volunteers from our church to work over there. We have 2 different sororities that had already been trained to help out, but because of COVID, we had to stop. We try to encourage other churches to get involved through awareness, flyers, and regular basis, more education, conference and workshops similar to the ones we put on there at the association and at the state level. We try to encourage those who have facility to open up their center. You must be in this for the long haul because it's not easy, but it is well worth it. One of the other things we're doing, we're developing a model to be able to help other churches. This year, the Office of Secretary, U.S. Department of Labor, Mr. Martin Walsh, visited our center on July 19. His focus was on research, medical personnel, and centers because it's underfunded, and President Biden is looking to put a lot of funding into those particular areas. They were interested in the blueprint of the partnership that we had, and hopefully to be able to do those type of things. I'm also hoping that he could put a few dollars so I could go around and promote that. But that's some of the things. We also provide early detection, routine screening, which the center do. But also I want to be better at dealing with the family at signs that they can recognize. When a personality change, they've been calm and all of a sudden they're irritated, they're missing things, and they keep going over the same thing over and over. It is time to start looking into doing something about their cognitions, and so that it'll be better and aware. One of the other things that we're working on, and I'm very excited about, is called virtual tours. We're going to be hosting a virtual dementia tour through an organization called Second Wind Dreams. It helps people to identify how a person living with dementia. They give you goggles, they put things in your shoes, and then they block out your peripheral vision, and you have to do the same thing that the people would have to do. And it makes a more sensitive caregiver. There's other things we want people to be aware of, like hospice, VITAS, provide respite. That was one of the things we didn't know, that we could have got respite in trying to take care of my mom. Had we known it, it would have been much more easy to deal with. So daycare is very important, and you must intervene early, or else you'll end up in a nursing home a much longer time. The other thing we're trying to do is destigmatize the label. In the past, when people were dealing with dementia problems and Alzheimer's problem, people called them crazy, but they wasn't crazy. We just wasn't aware of what they were dealing with. We are also trying to let people look at their family history. My mom had it, my grandmother had it, and my father had it. And so we're just trying to let them know it's the sixth leading cause of death in America. The African American church have more, community have more churches, a lot of resources, and we need to do it. So finally, my future vision is to do a better job with the ministry of Alzheimer's by maximizing everything we possibly can. So at this time, I would ask if Christine could come on. I just want to show you a few pictures of our facility and talk you through it. This, you can go to the next slide. This is the outside of the J.B. Kraken Alzheimer's Center that is housed in Zion Community Center. You can go to the next one. That is the entry. You can see the parking lot, and if you look to the left, you'll see our church. They're all on the same campus, but different buildings. We can go to the next one. That's the inside of the remodeled building. Everything from wall to wall, from the ceiling all the way to the roof is brand new, with all of the modern everything, digital lights, you name it, is there. You can go to the next one. That is that's the intake station where they come in, where someone usually sit. We can go to the next one. That's the table, that's the setup in which they in care with. We can go to the next one. There again, Notice all of the loungers that are there. They all have lounges where they can relax. That's the bathroom facilities. There, we can go to the next, and the water. We didn't do the kitchen, but anyway, that's there is the Thanksgiving feast. Now you'll notice every Thanksgiving they have a feast to bring the family. You'll see a little difference in 2019 and 2020 because we had COVID at that time. We can go to the next one. Those are some of the workers and the families that are there in the center. You can show the next one. Now that's 2019. Notice how many more people and families are there than it was 2020, because that's pre-COVID. I believe we have one more. Okay, and that's one of our contributors that comes and speak at that time. There's a lot of people who are interested, who donate a lot of funds to this effort. I believe that may be the last one. Click it and see. Yes, that's the last one. I want to thank you all for listening. Hopefully this has been helpful and inspiring to help you as a congregant talk to your pastors, maybe pastors on, to look and see the things you can do. You can do small things to make people aware of how important it is to care for your loved ones and the caregivers. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Chester. That was a deep dive into the vision now and in the future for faith communities. And just a question along those lines. Is there any guidance you would like to share with other churches or other faith communities in providing adult daycare services from your lessons learned?
Yes, I would look for people, especially to partner with, because it's a lot involved with it. But usually in every city, there's someone, the Department of Elderly. You can go through those particular organizations, government organizations, and look for people who are interested in the same thing that you are. You'll be surprised how many people in your congregation who are dealing with dementia or dementia care for their loved ones.
Well, thank you very much. One other question. Can you share with us a little bit about the services offered to care partners or caregivers of older adults with dementia at the adult daycare center?
For the actual patient or for the family?
For the care partner, family members.
Okay, for the care partner, they do counseling and intervention, and especially because what happens with my limited experience, you're going to usually have a stage where people begin to wander away. They give them exercises how to take a break and how not to react to certain things, and even other services at home they'll provide for care for them. So
well, thank you so much.
Thing.
Anything else? I'm sorry, Pastor.
No, I just one of my neighbors who's happened to be a pastor, wife came along with dementia. He has an opportunity now to still do ministry. He leaves home, he drop her to the center, go to this church, and come back and pick her up, right en route to home.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Pastor, for the opportunity to provide self-care, yes, healthcare promoting, emotional well-being to the caregiver is equally important. And your organization and the church, Orthodox Zion, is taking up the gauntlet. Mindy
Yes,
Tower, we have some affirmations from Mindy from the Alzheimer's Project, and I think there was another one. What a great setup from the executive director of the Alzheimer's Project here in Tallahassee, John Trebetta.
Yes.
Beautiful facility. Thank you, Phyllis Ward. We can only agree with that. Well, thank you so much, Elder Chester, and we appreciate you. And what a great blessing having you with us this evening. And now
Thank you, Doc.
we have our second presenter, Pastor Tracey Mills. It's great to have you here, Pastor Mills.
Thank you. Thank you. I am grateful to be on this virtual platform with Elder Dr. James Chester and Minister Leonard Hixson. God bless you both. I wish I had known about Acts 2 project when my aunts were diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's. I am sure that at that time, if we had known about it, I'm sure all of my family's questions and concerns and issues could have been resolved, or we would have had a little bit more clarity. So I like to say to Dr. Glukoff and Miss Tamika, thank you for the work you do and for your service. Collins Chapel AME Church is in the town of Baldwin. It's 20 minutes west of Jacksonville, Florida. There are no hospitals, no grocery stores, no fire department. Those with dementia would be best served through probably telehealth or some services of that nature, or in the neighboring city of Jacksonville. And I feel like it's very unfortunate. So I've said a vision to see, care, and serve is necessary. Service over status. Necessary in order to assist those with dementia. It is service over status. I mean service over our title of pastor, title of minister. It's service. That's what we are been commissioned to do, is to serve. And I'm to meet the people where they are. Next slide, please. So you ask, why are we discussing, or why am I even interested in talking about dementia? Well, I found out that Black Americans are about 2 times more likely than white Americans to develop Alzheimer's and dementia. Looking at statistics, looking at what we have on the screen here, I would venture to say that many pastors will encounter individuals within their congregation who are suffering or will be diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer. And I think that we as a church body, we as pastors, we as leaders should be prepared to have our toolkit and resources readily available to serve this population of people. Next slide, please. I like this quote by Martin Luther King. It says, everybody could be great because everybody can serve. I believe that I am obligated to be a resource center for my church and my community. My mom always says, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Well, as a pastor, minister, leader, or servant, we should never be too busy to help those who are in need. We should see, care, and serve this population. We should see the one that is isolated. I should see the one that is disconnected. I should see the one that is disoriented. I should be able to see that. We should be able to see this population of people because they are needing our services. The next slide. We, when I say we, I'm speaking about we as pastors, leaders. We that are in the community are needed. And I know sometimes we may feel like, oh, I'm not needed. I can continue to do what I do. Well, I want to encourage you to think a little bit larger than that. It's not the position that we fill, but it's how we serve and the life we live. If we help people get what they need, then we can get what we want. I believe that we can. A position without producing is just excuses. I'll say it again. I'm not preaching. I'm just talking. We're just talking about like as if we're in Starbucks, a Panera. We're just having a conversation because this is something for us as leaders to even think about. A position without producing just excuses. Ministry is service rendered to God, the congregation, and the community at large. The church has a responsibility to serve and to make individuals feel comfortable. Everybody wants to be in a place where they feel like they are seen, they are heard, and they feel comfortable in the environment. God has given us all a variety of gifts, and we should be able to utilize those gifts. I remember back in the day, now I'm getting ready to tell you my age. Well, I'll put it this way. Do you remember years ago how in the community that people could come to the church, come to the pastor, come to the minister, and they can get whatever they needed or could ask for help, and the church or the pastor would be able to provide the necessary resources? This disease, I'm talking about dementia and Alzheimer's, is a crisis, and we need a specified toolkit to assist those with dementia and Alzheimer's, other chronic illnesses, but specifically dementia and Alzheimer's. If we help people get what they need, then we will get what we want. The need in many instances are resources, support, and then we'll get what we want is the ability to serve. Next slide, please. So what are some of the barriers? What are some of the barriers? Dementia challenges our theology and assumptions of how we are to serve and to care. So then there's the thing of lack of resources. There are not enough resources, and I'm specifically talking about in the rural area, in the city of the town of Baldwin. There are not enough resources there. So therefore, we are able to have to kind of venture out and connect with the next city, which is Jacksonville, to get those resources. But that becomes an issue because, say, for instance, if the individual is unable to drive, have no connection, then you can see how that would be a barrier or a place to fret a little bit for that individual. So lack of resources is one of the barriers. The challenge to improvise to reach individuals. We are challenged to improvise to reach those with dementia and chronic illnesses. This requires some skill, proficiency, but willing to make an adjustment. May I share a brief story with you? I was appointed to Collins Chapel, and this was my first appointment. And like when you're appointed to a new church, you're not familiar with the members. You're not familiar with those that are attending the services. And this particular Sunday, again, keep in mind, I was new. I did not know anyone, had not fellowship with them or anything of that nature. Well, I'm up ministering my message, and I thought it was going pretty well. And then in the middle of my message, a gentleman gets up, and he walks towards the pulpit. He then bends down and he gets the offering plate and he starts taking the offering up. Now, keep in mind, he's walking towards me in order to get the offering plate, and people start, telling him to come back, telling him to come back, come back, come back. Well, I saw this as a teachable moment. So what I did was I stopped what I was doing and said, I agree. This is a great time for offering. So let's take up the offering. So I was able to improvise. So what I did was we took up the offering, blessed the offering, and then I went back to my message. Now I know some people say, what, did he just cause all type of ruckus? No, it's an opportunity to actually deal with those that are dealing with dementia I thought that's the first thing that came to my mind. Nobody told me that. But then there's opportunity for me to minister, and then also opportunity for the individuals that were there to see how we can still show love and kindness. The challenge to be creative in our approach to educate. Challenge to be creative in our approach to educate. We can educate through music and painting. A challenge to be innovative and flexible. Challenge to be innovative and flexible, but be willing to be flexible. Now, it could have gone completely different if I had decided that, no, I want to reprimand the gentleman, which would have been really wrong to do, especially I knew, to reprimand him and ask him to sit down. But no, it was an opportunity for everyone else to participate. And then as a result of me doing that, it was at that time that the family decided to really check him in to get help, medical help, and get a true diagnosis for his ailment. Can we look at the next slide, please? So we need eyes to see. Eyes to see. Sometimes we are seeing, but we're not really seeing. We have to begin to survey the needs in the church and the community. I was able to survey my congregation. When this occurred, I had to really look at it, not just from my perspective, but from a different perspective, and see that this gentleman possibly, I didn't know for sure, possibly had dementia. So then you have to begin to survey and make sure that do you see anyone that's isolated, anyone that's disoriented, suffering in silence? It is imperative that we develop a relationship with those that we are pastoring. Is there anyone that's not engaged in the service? There now have this device called the GeoBit for individuals that wander off. My aunt, who was diagnosed with dementia, matter of fact, 3 of my aunts had dementia and Alzheimer's, but this one particular day, my aunt wandered off. I'm sure that we probably would love to have this device, which is called the GeoBit, whereby it lets you know when somebody is wandering off or something of that nature. Well, my aunt wandered off, and it's not her nature to even leave, or her nature has always been soft-spoken, quiet, mild, and meek. But she wandered off, and we had to call to get assistance. We had to call the police in order to find her. Well, we did find her several miles away, and she was just walking. When they brought her back, what we noticed was it was ants all over her. They say they found her hidden in bushes where she had fallen. Now, because she had dementia, she was not able to communicate that, okay, these ants are biting me. But one thing it is that we saw it. And as a result of that, we thought as a family that we could handle this, that we could handle her. We could be her caregivers and caretakers. We could ensure that she'll be safe and protected. Well, that became a bit too much for us. It became a bit too much. And we eventually had to place her in a nursing home where they were able to care effectively for her. So our next slide is the church. Before you go there, could you go right back? I wanted to make mention of this. What I'm talking about is the church, dementia-friendly church. We hardly even talk about that because we're so used to just having church. That's what we do. That's what the church does. We just have church, and we don't really consider who our audience is or who's sitting in our congregation. So when we say, is the church a dementia-friendly church, will my church be a welcoming church, a warm church, wherein dementia individuals are accepted for who they are? Will they feel comfortable in my congregation? The dementia person and his family should feel comfortable. What can we do to make it friendly? We have to what about having a get to know you day at the church? What about you? You become more familiar with that individual, become more familiar with the family, and then maybe they'll share information that they possibly do have dementia or Alzheimer's. Then that will make a note that was in your head, that you'll be aware of who's in your congregation so that you can meet the needs. You don't want to walk away because everybody wants care, everybody wants love, and everybody wants affection. Consider having a game night of board games, playing dominoes, a day with arts and craft. We see, we care, and we serve. Then what I try to do is connect and build relationship. You can do that with game night. You can do that with music and choir or singing. Those are areas whereby someone with this type of illness would be able possibly to participate. So then they'll say, okay, I don't feel like I'm separated from the rest of the congregation, from the rest of the members. Games and music and choir and art on Sunday. You can do it on a Sunday. I know. You're probably saying, what are you talking about? Doing something like this on a Sunday? Look, COVID has allowed us to be very creative in our approach as far as how we do ministry. And when we really understand what ministry is, I know that we are sometimes in no ministry as, clapping your hands and doing all. But now we are now community connected now. Have you noticed that in the community now, we're having more churches are serving the community? Well, we can serve those that are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's. Our next slide, please. Oh, a vision to see it. I like this. Listen, it says Walt Disney never lived to see the opening of Disney World. During the opening ceremony, someone reputed to have said to Walt's wife, "It's a shame Walt is not here to see this." To which she responded, "He did. He did see it, or it wouldn't have been here." I like that because I often say you got to see it before you see it, or you never will see it. In other words, you have to have a vision, see a vision, and then make it become a reality. You have to see it before you see it, or you never will see it. How many of us see our members? How many of us see our congregation, see those that are hurting, see those that are suffering with dementia? We should see the need, discuss the need, and work towards educating and connecting to the proper resources. The proper resources is the key. The resource such as Acts 2, that's a resource. Yeah, there are other Alzheimer's Association, that's a resource. We have to see the needs and have a vision to meet the needs. Can we go to the next slide? So we have to see the need, and then we have to have a vision to meet the need. See the health challenges. Have a vision to meet the health challenges. See the needs in the church. Feed the need. Partner with organizations such as Acts 2, Alzheimer's Association, health and nonprofit organization. We have to see if there is anyone in the ministry with health challenges, such as dementia, Alzheimer's, or any other illness. Why? Because we should be community-based. Community-based. We're reaching out. We're coming behind the brick and mortar. We found out that the brick and mortar was out of order. I'm just teasing. But we can be more community activated and meet the needs of whatever the community needs. We're going back to how I said initially, you remember when people used to come to the church? Now, guess what? They're coming to the church because they're needing assistance, they're needing the resources. Address it and provide him or her with the proper resources. See the need so that we can get what is necessary. Trained individuals. healthcare workers, skilled companion. In other words, we can get all of these to come on a Sunday. I know. You said, I have church on Sunday. Well, let's do something out of the box. I had Acts 2 project to come on a Sunday morning. And guess what? The message was, what was the sermon? Acts 2 project. That was a sermon. That was a need. They met the community where they are. And it was a blessing to the church, to myself. And guess what? That was a resource. So we are to be present, to serve, and turn every opportunity into intentional and relevant encounters to generate worthwhile experiences. So I often say, this is my sister word, let's operate with a hit mode of seeing, caring, and serving. Hit is honesty, integrity, and truth. And truth is what's in your congregation. Are we really able to serve? Have we reached out to help assistance? No one pastor can do it alone. It will take a village. It takes outsourcing, reaching out to others that can assist us in helping meet the needs of that particular member, those which are in the congregation. And guess what? It will be beneficial because then what? You're educating your congregation so that if something occurs in their lives and their family, they will be well equipped. We want a church body, a church community to be well equipped, well established, and well knowledgeable. Let's operate in hit mode. Thank you. My time is up, and I thank you for yours. Dr. Rob?
Thank you so much, Pastor Mills. You've done a great job in articulating the vision now and for the future. Have a question for you. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Now, I think you are uniquely the person to address this question in the panel, I believe. How has pastoring a rural church influenced your vision for dementia care in the faith community?
Well, I think one thing it has done, it has caused me to think outside the box. Because, like I said, in a rural area, you don't have all the resources. So therefore, we have to kind of think strategically as far as what will work for our population of people and for our community. So therefore, I have reached out myself, have reached out to Alzheimer's Association and people like yourself, Acts 2, to basically get more information to see what will really work with my population or with my where I am actually located in that rural area. So I think the best thing to do is reach out and look beyond our area, because in my area there's no resources in that particular area. Now 20 miles down the road, that I can get that information and see if we can take that information and filter it into our church or with those members.
Thank you, Pastor. Just one more question. I couldn't resist asking this. How has working as the outreach program coordinator for community hospice and palliative care affected your role as a pastor?
I think what it has done is allowed me, first of all, it has allowed me to network with a whole lot of people. I mean, and I'm able to gain information from those organizations, and I'm able to indoctrinate them in my sermons. So thank you, Pastor Rob, because now more information I find out, I'm able to actually bring the information back. I can actually include it in our announcement and then also include it in my messages and in my sermons. So we are becoming more educated, whether it be through my sermons or through announcements or what have you. So I'm being knowledgeable, and as I'm more knowledgeable, my congregation is only as knowledgeable as its pastor.
Amen.
Amen.
I believe we have some comments. We have a comment from Dr. Kay Allen. Impressive presentation, Pastor Mills. I'll say an amen to that.
Amen. Thank you. And I was sweating bullets.
Oh, yeah, it bore good fruit at any rate. Mindy Smith Towler, great information and presentation. Thank you, Mindy. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And from John Trebetta, well done, Pastor, redirecting and not drawing additional attention to someone in crisis during the example you gave us in early on in your presentation. Great job, Pastor.
Thank you.
And now, folks, we have our third presenter, Minister Leonard Hixson. Welcome, Minister Hixson. We are grateful to have you here. Actually, the second time on the Acts 2 Facebook workshop series. It is a great blessing to be with you this evening. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. It's a blessing to be able to work with Dr. Rob and the whole group and all you pastors. It's a blessing. I'm just been elated to what I've heard so far, because this is what this ministry is all about. And when Dr. Rob asked me to be a part of this and to be a part of this workshop, and I'm like, wow, this is a great opportunity to be able to minister to people, you know. But I prayed, I asked the Lord, I said, what do you want me to talk about? And he said to me, was to talk about you. You've been a caregiver all of your life. And so I went back to, he took me back to when I was a little boy, 6, 7 years old, and I used to stay with my next door, with my across the street neighbor, Miss Lucy. She had dementia, not knowing what there were at that time. But the Lord allowed me to stay with her until she passed away, basically. But we didn't know anything about dementia back in those days. But anyway, as I grew older, but I always knew it was more. Should have been more that I could do. And so then I witnessed my grandmother getting dementia, and I noticed the struggle that my dad had trying to communicate with her, trying to get her to take her medicine and just but when you don't know, when you don't have no clue of what you're dealing with, and I just wanted to know more. And I wanted to know more because I knew what my dad was. He was doing all he could do, but I just knew that wasn't what he should have been doing. But that was all he knew what to do. So as I grew older, and then later on in life, and I started pastoring in 1999, and then the Lord sent me these older people, and one of the ladies developed dementia, and still not knowing how to deal with her. But I know that we as a leader, that and there was more to it than just praying. I asked the Lord to show me and show me what I needed to do to help this lady. And God did. We got all kind of help for her till we got to the point to where the church really couldn't help her anymore. So we didn't know anything about her family life or whatever, but we did having to get in contact with the only daughter that she had, which we lived in Nashville, Tennessee. But I did get in touch with her, and I told her she needed to come and get her mom because her mom could no longer take care of herself. But I felt real good about that. But later on in life, as I was seeking more, because I always felt like it was something else that I could do, and I'm so related to listen at these pastors talk about what they got going on in their church, and we as leaders, we as church leaders and pastors, and we are the one that's got to implement it in our community. And one thing I learned about implementing something, we don't have to worry about who's going to do the work, because God always going to send people to help you do the work. But we as leaders, we have to implement it. We have to want it. We got to carry it out. So when my mom developed dementia in 2017, well, I lost my sight. I lost the biggest of my sight, and I got off. I lost my job and everything else. But not knowing that God was preparing me to totally take care of my mom with dementia. In 2017, well, I was taking care of her, but I was kind of like still in limbo mode so I was introduced to the ACTS program. And when I was introduced to the ACTS program, I just knew right away, that I needed to go through this program because I needed to know more about how to help my mom and help other people that's coming along behind her. And so I was introduced to the ACTS program, and then 2000 then we came up with the pandemic and all this stuff. But I lost my mom. Later on. But the thing about it but I knew how to take care of my mom, and along with my two brothers. I didn't have I lost my two sisters to congestive heart failure and a brother. But the thing about it is, I didn't want to put my mom in a nursing home facility. And so the Lord fixed it where I could take care of her. And then, but I just thank God down through the years but I see where, I thank God that he was able to allow me to take care of her the way that should have been she should be taken care of. And the thing about it is, we have to remember, even in our churches today, my mom served as a kitchen worker for 50, 60 years in the kitchen, serving other people, taking care of people's children and all these things. And but when she developed dementia and could no longer serve, well, I asked the church not to throw her away. And what I mean by that, because a lot of times we just, when people can no longer serve in ministry, a lot of times we just lay them to the side or don't pay them any attention anymore. But so the ladies got together with me and they said, so we're not going to allow your mom to serve, but what we want to do, we just want her to sit in the kitchen with us and just be just a fold up forks or whatever she can do. If she can't do that, but what I'm saying, but it made me feel real good because we didn't throw her away. And I took her to church. I took my mom to church until she. And so what I'm saying in all this is, we as leaders, we as pastors, we as preachers, we got to lead this program. We have to lead it ourselves and get out there, and God gonna provide. He'll provide everything else. Pastor Chester was saying, I like that because he was saying he remodeled a building. You see, God he will bless us with whatever we need. All we got to have is the want and the ability to want to do it. He will supply everything else that we'll need to carry out the program, because we got to remember, people with Alzheimer's and dementia, they are still people. They are people, and they wants to be loved. They wants to be cared for, and I see in churches today, not all churches, but some churches today, we done got so relaxed to where we don't care about the peoples that really done help us got to where we are today. But we as leaders, we as leaders in our Black community, we got to get more involved with our dementia patients and our dementia people, simply because, and I look at when I was back there, when I was a kid, and I'm not calling myself old, and by no means, but when I was coming up, the old people that we used to talk about, we are becoming those people now. And we got to take care of people that are a whole lot younger than me, I've seen with dementia. But we got to love them. We got to care for them. We got to take care of them. And God will bless us richly. I believe that if we would just not throw people away, because like I said, Jesus came that we all might have a right to the tree of life, and we cannot throw people's away. And my goal in the future is to hear it now as well as in the future. And I'm an outreach person. I goes out. I'm an evangelist. I goes out and witness to people. But we got to pay attention to people, because when you see people, as the pastor said, when you see people going over the same thing, when they're saying this and saying that, well, you need to pay attention to that person, because there's something wrong, and not condemn the person, not show them up, but help that person, because they are crying out and for help. And I thank God that he is giving us the ability to know how to take care of our loved ones. I thank Dr. Rob. I thank the whole entire ACTS program, because it helped me to know how to take care of my mom and others. And so, and even as a partially blind person with abilities myself, I was still able to take care of my mom and feel the needs that she needed, along with taking care of myself. And so I ask you guys to just continue to just pray with us, pray for us. Person along this way did what God has set us to maybe help somebody along the way. And this is what this is all about. And God, as leaders, as ministers, and as peoples of God, and we just got to put the love back where it's supposed to be, one another. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Minister Hixson. We've had a little bit of technical transmission difficulties. I don't know if you could hear me or not. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I think it's a little better now. Thank you so much. That was such an inspiring presentation. Mindy Smith-Towler has an affirmation. Thank you so much, Rev Hixson, for sharing your personal testimony, your story. Jane Springer affirmed, such an inspiring testimony, Minister Hixson.
Thank you.
Have a question for you, Minister
Okay.
Hixson. You knew that I would have a couple, right?
Right.
You emphasize the importance of caregiving skills. You did that in the beginning of your presentation and toward the end. What skills do you believe that you've acquired have had the most impact on you in providing quality care and support for your dear mom with dementia?
Well, I didn't give up on her. You know, when everybody else thought that she couldn't serve, I allowed her to continue to wash dishes. I allowed her to continue to sweep the floor, even though she made a mess, didn't do it right, but I still allowed her to do it. She just couldn't do it no more. She taught us when we was kids growing up, make your bed up every morning. I let her make up her bed until she couldn't make it up no more, until she didn't know what the front or the back were. But I allowed her to do what she did, to do what she could do as long as she could do it. And I just believe that put an extension onto her life, because she never gave up on me. And I just encourage everybody that have family members that have Alzheimer or dementia, please allow them to still be who they are until they can't be that person anymore. Because guess what? They are still they still wants to be loved. They still wants to feel like they can do it if they can't do it. So that's what I would do. I continue to just encourage my mom to do what she did.
Thank you so much, Minister Hixson. I think that's such an important point about being able to let go of the tendency to want to make the performance of your loved one with dementia different than it is, and just to honor what they bring to the table and allow them, encourage them to continue being highly active, even if the bed isn't made properly or if it's confused, to have that opportunity to continue to be appreciated and supported unconditionally, to be loved unconditionally, is so important. We have another affirmation for you, Minister Hixson. It's from Dr. Allen. Minister Hixson, talking about maintaining the dignity of those with dementia is so important. Thank you. Hattie Mary Young, we thank you for joining us. A blessing, a blessing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And now we have our fourth presenter, Mrs. Tamika Norton Brown, Acts 2 Project Coordinator. Thank you, Tamika, for rounding us out here this evening. And
you're very welcome. It's my pleasure. What I am going to do is to give information on our Acts 2 program. And once I finish with this part, we'll bring everyone back up for a panel discussion. Okay. The first thing I will say that Acts 2, we are free, faith-based, which means that we have woven things such as prayer, meditation, and faith sharing into the actual 12-session program. But although we are faith-based, we're also ecumenical, so we're open to anyone. Our 12-session program is for African American care partners, but any person who reaches out to us, we will make sure to refer them to resources that are available in their community. I will also say that in order to qualify for the Acts 2 program, you just need to be a relative caregiver, and we loosely define relative. If you consider that person to be your aunt, then we consider that person to be your aunt. You have to spend 6 hours of caregiving duties a week. That person does not have to live in the home with you for those 6 hours to count. If you're going by, taking meals, washing clothes, making an appointment, we count all of that as caregiving. And then you just have to be experiencing distress from your caregiving duties. And there is an assessment that I do to determine that. Acts 2 does serve all of the state of Florida, and we have 3 primary objectives. The first is we want to optimize the access, uptake, and effectiveness of faith-based skills training and support for distressed African American caregivers of older adults with dementia. We also want to continue to participate in things such as this, where we're increasing dementia awareness and knowledge through presentations, workshops at faith, community, and elder care venues, as well as through print and social media. The third leg of that is we provide brief telephone-based consultation and referral services to African American dementia caregivers and other stakeholders. Okay, this is a description of our program. Our program includes 7 group skills building with 3 persons in a group and 5 individual sessions. All of our sessions are delivered weekly over toll-free telephone by what we refer to as trained lay pastoral care facilitators. And I've seen several of those facilitators in the chat tonight. Those are basically lay persons from the faith community who have either seen a presentation and say, hey, I think I'd like to participate in your program, or they've been nominated by their adjudicatory leaders, and they go through training before they are actually assigned to deliver the weekly sessions. In those individual sessions with those facilitators, they focus on goal setting and problem solving to address concerns that are identified by the caregivers. Most of the caregivers come in with 2 or 3 things that they want to work on, whether they be caregiving related goals or personal goals, and they get 5 weeks of one-on-one with their facilitator. We have for our program, we consist of 6 major components. The first is what we refer to as Dementia 101, which is just an overview of the basic characteristics of the dementias. We do relaxation training that's combined with calming prayer and or meditation. There's a myth that relaxing is just going home and getting in your favorite chair, when actually there is a technique to having your mind, body, and spirit enter into relaxation, and we train our caregivers to relax. We also have effective thinking about the challenges of caregiving that's coupled with scripture. We have my favorite, which I refer to as the me time module, just building in pleasant daily activities as a guard against emotional distress. Now, negotiating 15 minutes where you can take a walk or listen to gospel music. We also have communicating effectively with the care partner with dementia, with family and other health professionals. And then lastly, as I spoke about before, developing those effective problem-solving skills through personal goal setting. Here are some of the resources that are available. We have the Alzheimer's Association, the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, the Florida Department of Elder Affairs, the Elder Helpline, the Elder Care Locator, and the Alzheimer's Disease Education and Referral Center. And I want to make sure to mention that we also have representatives from the Tallahassee local Alzheimer's project. So as you can see, there are tons of resources that are national and statewide and also local. Okay. How can caregivers contact the Acts 2 project? Very simple to contact us. We have multiple ways. We have a toll-free number. That number is 866-778-2724. We have my Tallahassee local cell phone number, 850-274-4945. And that toll-free number does roll to my cell phone number. So for all of you who are not local, you can call the toll-free and you'll still reach me. We have my email address, which is tnorton@fsu.edu. You can also come here to our Facebook page, leave messages. We try to be as interactive with folks as we can. So leave messages. You can send direct messages and we will respond. What we're now going to do is bring up our website, because you can also contact us there as well. On our website, if you go to links, on this page, it has resources from that are Florida resources and national resources. So we tried to put everything in one spot so that it would be easy for caregivers or others who visit the page to locate that information. If you go to caregiver resources, okay, on this page, we've included things such as prayers, readings. We have information on basics of dementia. We have caregiver skills, yet and still another resource where you can come to this web page and get information that can assist you in your caregiving duties. If you go to donate, please. On our donate page, Acts 2 is primarily funded by grants and private donors and investments from the faith community. So if you're interested in how to donate to Acts 2, you can come here to our donate page. And lastly, if you would go to sign up. Here on our sign up page, you can come here, give us your name, fill out all the pertinent information. If you just have a question, if you want more information on the program, you can come to our sign up page. This will roll directly to my email as well. So if you not comfortable with doing Facebook or not comfortable sending a direct email, you can also do that here from our website. Okay, and what we are now going to do is we're going to bring everyone back and we're going to have a panel discussion. So we thank you all for the opportunity and for listening, and we want you to make sure that you leave with any questions that you have answered. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. G.
Well, thank you so much, Tamika Norton Brown, Pastor Tracey Mills, Elder James Chester, Minister Leonard Hixson, It's such a blessing to have the three of you and Tamika aboard this evening. I'm going to ask a question to the group, and we could maybe one or two or three of you could respond to this. How can church leaders and the clergy and lay leaders increase the involvement and engagement of persons with dementia and their caregivers in the church community? What specifically can be done to engage and increase the involvement of persons with dementia and their family members who provide support for them? Anyone?
Well, yes, Dr. Bob. One of the things we were talking about and doing is to just have a focus day, worship type service for caregivers, and to be able to do that and make sure it's a community effort. One of the things that we may have not done a good job on is getting it out exactly to the community. And there's ways to do that through elderly affairs and stuff like that. But I think that's one of the things, to really focus on it and make it known in the community.
Thank you so much, Elder Chester.
I would concur. I think we tend to not reach out. We're so used to being my church and my service and my this, my that. So we have to be believers or pastor leadership or what have you to actually go beyond the walls of the church and get connected to the community, get connected to those individuals. Sometimes we have churches in a community, and the community, and I know of a church that they're next door to a family that has been there for about 40 years, but the church has been there longer, but the church does not know the next door neighbor. And that's sad. So we have to be able to get our comfort zone and expand, enlarge our territory. The Bible said, Jabez said, enlarge our territory and see beyond just me, myself, and I, and just my church.
Thank you. Reverend Hixson?
Yes, communication. And we, like I said, we pastor peoples all the time, but to really talk to people, you get to know a lot about people. When I was pastoring, I would do a picnic in the neighborhood because we was in a low-income housing project, not only to be introduced to the community, but also find out where each member were and what they and how they communicated. And that's the only way we're gonna know about people is interact with people, and then we can see their disabilities, their needs and everything, and we can do better with that. And I think if we do that, then we can reach a much wider space of people. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tamika Norton Brown, your perspective as a lay leader in the African Methodist Episcopal Church.
I think from my perspective, I haloed on something Minister Hixson said earlier. He said he did not want the church to throw his mama away. And I think that what happens is it's twofold. If as pastors, if you see that you have members who used to be present, but now aren't present, that there needs to be some kind of way of finding out what's going on with those folks and why aren't they present in the services. And then as members, we have to come to a point, as I was telling someone earlier today, if you're feeling sick, the first thing you want to do is make a doctor's appointment to go to see what can they do to help you. And the caregiving for a loved one is the exact same thing. Take advantage of the resources. The pastor, I'm a little country girl raised that everything you need, you run to the church and you get on your knees and you find a closet, and that's where you get that. And so use your pastor as a resource. Don't be afraid. We're so afraid of putting people in our business and not wanting to ask for the help that we need. So we have to continue to have conversations like this, continue to have platforms like this where you normalize people saying, hey, I've got this going on and I need some help.
Beautiful, Tamika Norton Brown. Let's honor some of the comments and questions from our dear audience. From Hattie Mary Young, picnic is an excellent idea. Also recreational parks or centers. Thank you, Hattie Mary. From John Trebetta, any suggestions on how to get people who may not be members of the church or any church to accept services that take place in a church facility, i.e. adult daycare and other types of services? I think that's where Mr. Trebetta is going, I believe. Anyone have of our panel have pearls of wisdom to share?
Not sure exactly the last part of his question, except the service that take place in a church facility. But I'll take a shot at it. So if in our context, it wouldn't be a problem because they don't even really know it's the church is in a separate building, even though the properties, but it's no real reason they would know that that was sponsored or partnership with the church. It is separate. However, there are some of those same facilities, the one that I talked about when we reached out for my mom, it was exactly inside of a church, but it didn't seem like it was a hinder. I think people in need will get the water wherever they can get it.
Yeah. Well done, Elder Chester.
If I could add,
Pastor
if I
Tracy.
could add to that, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking of how can you get outsiders, and that's the thing we've been talking about all night. How do you get outsiders to come and connect with the ministry? Not necessarily the ministry itself, but how do you get those individuals that are not familiar with church or are the unchurched population to come to a event that is connected with the church? Well, one thing I would suggest is I would, like, hypothetically, this is just me, I think outside the box. Okay, I would have something on my property like art and craft or painting, right? Okay, because a lot of people like to paint. Some people like, and then you have the bouncy house and all of that stuff. So you create something that is universal for the population of people, and then that's the way you can invite other people in. You know, like I said, games. I have activities outside. I like the picnic, but if you're talking about, you know, suggestions on how to get people who may not be members of the church, and sometimes I cringe at that because we're always trying to get members. We want to get more members and not actually see the individual, not see the person, not see the person who's hurting, the person that's dealing with dementia, the person that's not doing. We're just looking at possibly how to fill up our building. And we want to get outside of that, get beyond that, and just see the individual and be able to serve them by providing love and care for the individual itself, if that makes any sense. Hopefully I answered the question a little.
Yeah. And let me add to what she's saying. I think that's correct. But once you package that, what we do is we have a lighted sign on the outside of the church. We can change it, put anything we want to on it. And that is definitely draws the people who are just traveling down the road, who are non-members. That's what Pastor is saying. And it will get their attention if you just announce those events on a church billboard type. We got the type that, you know, you just put whatever message you want up there.
Reverend.
Unfortunately, I don't have any of that. I'm gonna get we're in the rural area, so I'm gonna believe God and click my heels 3 times and there's no place believe God for a miracle.
You light it up in other ways, Pastor Mills. You have attraction power, I would say, by the grace of God. Here's a comment from from Hattie Mary Young. Acts 2 Caregiver Project has been a blessing to many individuals who are struggling with their caregiving responsibilities. It can be overwhelming. However, the project is a great supporter. Well, thank you so much, Hattie Mary Young. God bless you. John Trebetta, thank you all for your thoughts and for your time tonight, panel members. I would be remiss if I didn't bring on Reverend Hixson to talk about his perspective in reaching out to persons who may not be part formally of your church community.
Well,
Reverend Hixson.
well, we did years ago in evangelism. We went door to door in the neighborhood. We knocked on every door, and we told people about the ministries that we had in the church. And now we can implement. Once you get dementia ministry started and going and activated in the church, so you can implement that, and that I believe that'll bring people, because you got more people in the neighborhood that's dealing with dementia than more than we know, and I think that would just, and I know I know we living in a time now to where it's hard to go knock on doors and go to door service, but just like Pastor said, you can put it on a billboard sign or just get out on the street corner and just wave a sign, whatever gonna do, you can do to get people's attention. Because let me tell you something, if we have that desire down in our heart, God will bring it to pass for all of us.
Amen.
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 I just wanted to give a shout out to, first, Hattie Mary. The members will come when they see that they are cared about as individuals. A big amen to that.
Yeah. Amen.
Mindy Smith Tower, we partner with churches for our respite rooms. Thank you. I wanted actually, Mindy, to follow up on that. Thank you. I wanted to give a shout out to the Alzheimer's Project in Tallahassee that is actively partnering with the AME church here in town, Bethel AME.
Okay.
And they do offer respite services, and they have an active partnership in reaching out. And those individuals who are given day services through staff members from the Alzheimer's Project are not necessarily members of the churches at which those services are located. So there's a good example here, and thank you. I think we're at a point, I know we've gone long. It's approximately an hour and 29 minutes. I can tell you it has been one amazing and inspirational experience. How about a final thought? Thank you, Chrissy, from each of our presenters. One final thought before we close this evening.
My final thought is to thank everyone. I picked up some nuggets from every presentation, and that's what it's all about, the collaboration.
Thank you, Elder Chester.
My final thought is, you got to see it before you see it, or you never will see it.
Amen.
Vision.
Thank you. You got to have the vision in order to realize it. That's for sure. And I think that the panelists here have the vision. How about you, Reverend Hixson?
I feel like if we got the love of Christ in our heart, we can reach the people.
Amen. Tamika Norton Brown, you have the last word.
The only thing I will say is that if we continue to treat people the way that we want to treat people, with love, compassion, and consistency, that we can all work together to bring about a great change. And caregivers and other people, take advantage of your resources.
Thank you, Tamika. I just have a final thought, if it would be okay. folks who are on the, many thanks to all. Thank you, Dr. Allen, much appreciated. Mindy Smith Teller, thank you everyone for an informative night. Thank you, Mindy, for being involved. Just something to leave you with. Please follow the Acts 2 Caregiver Project our workshops. They are streaming not only from Facebook, but also from our Acts 2 public website, acts2project.org, and the Acts 2 Project YouTube. So you can connect in 3 different ways: from Facebook Live, from our public website, or at YouTube to follow us live. And we will have a recording of this event, which you might want to listen to again. I know I'm going to do it. Wow, what an evening. It will be available, I think, in approximately 15 minutes or shorter on our Facebook website. So please, if you're catching us at the end, come and listen to the whole piece. It'll be the entire hour and a half will be available to you. Our next workshop, folks, will focus on the role of hospice and palliative care in meeting the health, emotional, and spiritual needs of older adults with dementia and their family care partners. We will soon announce the date of the workshop in the Acts 2 Caregiver Project Facebook website and on our public website, acts2project.org. Have a blessed evening. We're grateful to our audience and grateful to our panelists. Thank you so much. One final piece I want to do, please forgive me. I want to bring on Miss Chrissy Souders, if you would come so that we can give you a round of applause. This is, I believe, Chrissy's last Facebook Live event with us. She has been our media coordinator for the last almost year and a half. We are so grateful to you, Chrissy. We pray that your next journey will be a very rewarding one. And we are thankful to all that you've done to make the Acts 2 Facebook Lives the touching, moving, and informative events that they are.
It's been an honor. Thank you, Dr. Glukhoff. And thank you, everybody.
You want to tell everyone what your next step of your journey is? Please forgive me for bringing that up, but I think it's maybe important.
Well, my business has expanded and partnered up with Divvy Up Socks. And so check out Divvy Up Socks, divvyup.socks.com, and you can get custom socks made with your face or pet's face on it. And every pair of socks that you purchase, we donate to a homeless shelter.
Could you spell that and maybe put it in the chat for us? How do you spell Divvy Up Socks?
I'll put it in right now. So Divvy Up, I'll do better than that. I will go ahead and put the website link in here for you guys in our chat. That way you have it and can just click on it. So here we have it.
Thank you.
Divvy Up.
Yeah. So it's part of our social mission to make sure that we help the homeless. And so we encourage that by giving them a pair of socks. It's just one special thing that you can give to the world.
Thank you so much, Chrissy Souders. You know, we love you, appreciate you, and we will miss you, although we're going to be in touch. Thank you. Thank you so much, folks. Have a blessed evening, as I said before, and appreciate your contributions this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.